Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of the faithful had a great weekend and your weeks are off to a great start. Another great show on tap for you today as we are 1 week into Niners training camp. So we're going to take a look at some winners and losers a week into Niners training camp. Before we get started, though, while the players on San Francisco's roster are competing on the practice field at the SAP Performance Center, we're competing here inside the walls at Chat Sports with a division rival. Subs picked up last week. 49ers Report with 150. Seattle Sea Chickens today, 135. Let's continue to annihilate Seattle. I hate that football team. I hate that channel. I know you're with me, so hit that sub button. And at the end of the day, you get year-round and daily coverage of the Niners if you do that. All right, training camp winners. We'll start on a positive note here. Brandon Aiyuk has been straight up sensational in training camp. Dominant. Nobody has been able to stop him. And really, to start his career, every year that he's been in the National Football League, year over year, he's taken another leap and another leap and another leap. And going into year 4, he has continued on that trend. Nobody's been able to guard him so far. He's been catching dots from every quarterback who's been partaking in practice, whether it be Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, or Brandon Allen. He's standing out as the best player on the San Francisco 49ers so far in training camp. And the noticeable takeaway, Aiyuk is due for a monster year. And can you imagine what he'll be able to accomplish if Kyle Shanahan heavily features him in this offense? It's hard to do that because this is a big reason why the Niners are so well-rounded. You have Christian McCaffrey, who is not only just a running back, he's a weapon who can catch the football. So too can Deebo Samuel. George Kittle came on the last month and a half last year with Brock Purdy under center. So it's hard to really include Brandon Aiyuk over and over again, but it's hard to shy away from just wanting to get him the football when you look at what he's been able to accomplish his first 3 years in the league. And this tells a story. You're looking at a player here who's progressed, who's made improvements, who's found ways to improve on some of his flaws and weaknesses to the point now where Brandon Aiyuk barely doesn't have any flaws. Great route runner, really good footwork, good hands, and he's burning every DB that lines up opposite of him, especially in these one-on-ones, but most importantly, in these 11-on-11s. And as I look forward to 2023 here, let's go Brandon Aiyuk. I think that Kyle Shanahan has to go out of his way to feature him more heavily in this offense and get him the ball as much as he can. This is a special dynamic player, and I almost want to see Brandon Aiyuk's usage in 2023 like we saw Kyle Shanahan use Deebo Samuel in 2021. I'm not talking about using Aiyuk as a running back. I'm just talking about him being the go-to option for this Niners offense because no player in training camp's been able to cover him or guard him. And last year, there was rarely a defensive back, rarely a cornerback who could go stride for stride with Aiyuk. Because if Kyle Shanahan uses Aiyuk a lot as the number 1 wide receiver in this offense, I think he's going to put up some serious digits and make this team really difficult to stop through the air. Another note, Brandon Aiyuk has said, we've been doing more go routes in training camp this year. Look for longer completions and the return of the deep ball with Aiyuk leading the charge. Training camp winner number 2. Keep an eye out for Jamison, whether you're at Niners training camp practices, but when the preseason comes along, you have to remember this name. Now, the Niners got in pads for the first time in training camp today, so that's going to be a big indication as to what type of performances that Jamison can put forward, but the undrafted free agent defensive back out of Texas has been turning heads. He got a verbal shout-out from Brandon Aiyuk about his play last week. Going back to OTAs, he has been all over the place making plays with pass breakups, pass deflections, just getting an early read on where the football is going. And then John Lynch said on Monday that Jamison is going to start to get snaps inside, potentially for this first-team defense. This is a player that after OTAs and minicamp, I had said, if there's an undrafted free agent that can make this roster, Jamison is the player that might be able to crack that code. Plenty more to get to here on the show, but first, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Zbiotics. You can get 15% off by using the promo code CHATSPORTS at zbiotics.com/chatsports. Let's face it, the real ones know, after y'all hit me with a bunch of super chats, I don't always bounce back well the next day. That is until I found Zbiotics. It's a pre-alcohol probiotic, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle roughnecks mornings after drinking, and here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Zbiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it the most. Drink Zbiotics before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Now, if you put in your order, it comes in a package like this with 2, 4, 6 different bottles, and all of them similar sizes. They're all the same size, in fact. Very easy to travel with. So if you're looking to go to a new city, a new country, and you know you're going to be taking down, slugging some beers, Zbiotics, it goes very, very nicely and fits well into that travel case. It's 50% off, an absolutely fantastic deal. And if you go to zbiotics.com/chatsports or scan that QR code on the screen, you get that 50% off your first order when you use the code CHATSPORTS at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription as well, so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Zbiotics backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. One more time, you see the QR code here on your screen. And we've been telling you about the link, zbiotics.com/chatsports. We're going to put that link in the comment section. We're going to put it in the description of this video so that you can use it to your advantage and you can feel your best after those long nights of drinking. All right, let's continue to move forward with the show here. And let's continue to talk about Jamison here. Matt Barrows with this tweet from The Athletic. He said, Brandon Aiyuk, when asked about the DBs, 22. He's out there balling. He's been out there working. Number 22, undrafted rookie Deshaun Jamison. He's following up a strong spring with a good training camp through just 4 practices, of course. And Matt Barrows did say that on Sunday, July 30th. But the theme here, Aiyuk is paying attention. John Lynch has noticed Deshaun Jamison as well. And if he continues to play well with pads on, you have to invest and certainly stack up defensive back depth. He could help out in that category. Training camp winner number 3, Ty Davis-Price, the 3rd-round pick 2 years ago out of LSU. I thought he showed a lot of potential at LSU, and in the preseason last year, he's come into camp in better shape, and now it's a guy like Kyle Shanahan who certainly noticed what TDP has been able to accomplish. Kyle Shanahan saying, Ty Davis-Price has taken a huge jump from last year. He specifically noted conditioning, stamina, and the understanding of the offense. Offensive line coach Chris Forster was also asked about where TDP needs to get better. He checked off some of the same boxes as Kyle Shanahan. And in the pre-draft process, when I watched Ty Davis-Price, I didn't necessarily like him as a 3rd-round pick, but the power and balance blend really stood out. If he gets upended, he has this ability to stay on his feet. So far in camp, though, whereas last year he was a little bit indecisive at times as to what hole to hit, this year he's been striking that hole pretty quickly. And this is going to be a pretty big and good competition at that running back position. Christian McCaffrey, a shoo-in. You're hoping that Elijah Mitchell can stay healthy. But if Jordan Mason doesn't come to play, and he fumbled during a practice over the weekend, and Ty Davis-Price does come to play, that is a roster battle in the preseason that's going to be pretty interesting, and it's going to come down to how many running backs Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch want to have on this roster. Is it going to be 4? Is it going to be 5? That decision always made a little bit more difficult because you do have a fullback on this roster in Kyle Juszczyk, whereas many other teams across the NFL do not. Another good tweet from Matt Barrows that I do want to pass along, that Ty Davis-Price made a noticeable leap from last year. John Lynch, for example, said his wife has made him step up his fitness game this summer. He said he arrived at the facility recently at 5 a.m. for a workout, and there was one guy there. It was Ty Davis-Price. He's added some pass-catching ability to his arsenal as well. That's something that him and Jordan Mason have added to their arsenal. A lot of people are talking about Kalani Laybourne as another player, UDFA running back who could also crack this team. Again, goes to show you this running back competition, it's going to heat up as the pads come on. Let's talk about Javon Kinlaw here. Javon Kinlaw hasn't been able to stack up a lot of wins and a lot of positive moments since getting drafted in the first round in 2020. Good training camp so far. For him, all going to come down to whether or not he can stay healthy. On Monday specifically, dominated in one-on-one drills, also popped in 11-on-11 drills, just really able to beat a lot of offensive linemen in those drills and in those sequences. He's probably the healthiest that he's been since getting drafted in 2020. And look, for him, monster year coming up. San Francisco declined his fifth-year option, so this will be the final year of his rookie contract. If he plays well, he can earn a contract probably with another team out there. If he doesn't, going to be hard for him to stick around in the National Football League. Eric Armstead was asked about his defensive tackle mate and said that Kinlaw's been down by his lack of solid play and everything that he's had to deal with so far in his NFL career. So Armstead said it's good to see him playing well up to this point because he hasn't played a lot so far in his first 3 years. 14 games played as a rookie, 4 played in year 2, 6 played last year. Then he got pushed around in the NFC Championship game. Hasn't boded well for him, but a good training camp will bode well for him in earning a role. And if he can be a quality backup defensive tackle for this football team, goes a long way in helping out that defensive line. We'll round out our training camp winners with Drake Jackson. And keep in mind, there are a lot of players who could be on this list. There are a lot of players who could be on the losers list. But we're trying to really slim it down to the best and most noticeable people here. Drake Jackson has been noticeable. Added much-needed muscle and weight throughout this offseason, about 13-plus pounds. Kyle Shanahan said last year that he kind of wore down toward the end of the campaign, just wasn't used to the switch-up between the 12, 13-game schedule in college football to 17 games at the NFL level. So he hit the weight room. He's been in the lab. I thought a really impressive play that he had on Sunday, he went step for step with Elijah Mitchell, a running back, on a wheel route and had a pass breakup. To see a defensive lineman at like 265 pounds galloping downfield with the running back, that always catches your eye. And then another win for Drake Jackson with Nick Bosa away from the team. He started to get some more reps as well, and he needs those reps, needs those experiences because he was somewhat raw and a little bit younger coming out of USC. Now, you can mention to me, hey, Chase, where's Trey Lance? Well, here's your answer, right? Too early to tell for Trey Lance up to this point. On Monday, had his best practice of camp. He was sharp. He was accurate. He was decisive. He was crisp. He made some really good throws. But on Friday, he didn't have a good camp. And then on Sunday, he kind of bounced back from that. Been a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. He just hasn't had enough reps for me to deem him a winner or loser because the Niners have been giving 4 quarterbacks a lot of reps. But with those reps on Monday, Trey Lance took advantage. And let's give credit where credit is due as we stick at the quarterback spot. Sam Darnold, one word to really categorize what he's been able to do, sharp. He has had a really strong training camp up to this point. So we're going to get to our losers, but first, who have you been most impressed with in training camp so far? With what you've read, or for those of you who have attended some of these practices, who's popped? Drop me a name down in the comment section or names if you want. Training camp losers here. This entire Nick Bosa situation can be deemed as a loss. I mean, John Lynch pretty much said that during his press conference on Monday, and this is the Nick Bosa update from the Niners general manager. We're just going to have that right mix of urgency and patience. I remain confident that we'll come to an agreement and get things taken care of so we can have one of our best players, best teammates here. This is a guy who addresses our team every single Saturday. And look, It's important for Bosa to be there, but I understand why he's not. Why risk injury when you're about to become the highest paid defensive player in the history of the NFL? I can understand why San Francisco wants him there, but I don't have many concerns because I do know that Nick Bosa is going to come to camp in tip-top condition. But when one of your best players, when the pads come on, isn't there, that's a loss for your organization. Training camp loser number 2, Brock Purdy. A lot of you aren't even going to listen to what I'm about to say. You're going to bash me in the comment section and say, this dude came off of elbow surgery in 4.5 months. At least he's practicing. Yes, he deserves credit for that. But the pads are on, and Brock Purdy was under siege on Monday. Chase, you're telling me that Brock Purdy is a loser. You're being unfair to Mr. Irrelevant. Well, first of all, when you talk about his game, he's been rusty. He hasn't looked great. We envisioned that was going to happen. And on Monday, he wasn't the best quarterback on the field. It was Trey Lance. But this is why he's a loser. Guy's trying to come back. He's trying to earn that starting quarterback role. He got all the first-team reps today, but he got his arm hit twice. One time by Drake Jackson, who knocked the ball out of his hands as he was throwing, and then another time by Cleveland Ferrell. Those types of plays, very reminiscent of what happened to Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia, which led to him getting that elbow surgery. So the accuracy's been up and down. He's lacked some arm strength. He's missed some guys deep. Again, I'm not ripping him for that, right? But you have to be critical. He hasn't been great. He also got his arm hit. That's why he's a loser up to this point. Loser number 3 is going to be Danny Gray. When we're talking about guys like Chris Conley who are making plays and some of the other roster fringe type wide receivers who have been catching footballs and making splash plays downfield, and we're not talking about Danny Gray, that's a little bit of a problem. Let me pose this question. What has Danny Gray done? I haven't heard a peep. I haven't heard anybody say anything about Danny Gray. That's not good. Guy was a 3rd-round pick 2 years ago, has a speed element to his game. He caught that long 70-plus yard touchdown from Trey Lance in the preseason last year. That was his moment of fame. But look, his roster chances could be in jeopardy if he doesn't do anything. The Niners will move on if they don't believe that he is going to contribute to this team, and if they believe he's a waste of a roster spot. Danny Gray has to step that game up. I have high expectations for him, and I want to motivate him, so hopefully he saw those. Who is your biggest camp disappointment? I want to know, and I want you to be honest with me down in the comments section. Let us know what you also thought about the show today. Our training camp coverage, I believe, has been very strong here on the Niners Report. Let us know how we can get better. We'll catch you next time here on the show. Don't forget to subscribe.